The Prince of Persia series dates back to 1989 and has had several notable releases since. The series is best recognized today for its action-adventure gameplay. However, back in the late 80s and early 90s, it was known for pioneering the cinematic platformer genre. In 2003, Ubisoft took over the franchise and released the critically acclaimed Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, blending the platforming with the action-adventure. And relatively recently, Ubisoft has released Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and the franchise's first new console project in more than a decade has garnered critical acclaim. Still, how does it rank among the best Prince of Persia games? We at Game Rant are here to answer that question. Welcome to Game Rant, everyone. I'm Bilal, and here's our ranking of the top 5 Prince of Persia games. At number 5, Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones ended the PlayStation 2 Sands of Time trilogy in style with the series' most brutal hack-and-slash entry yet. As players would expect in the final entry to a trilogy, The Two Thrones is one of the franchise's most story-driven titles, as players learn the ramifications of the prince's actions in Warrior Within. The game implements an interesting mechanic based around the Dark Prince, an alter ego of the prince. On random occasions, the prince will transform into this alter ego. The Dark Prince wields a weapon known as the Dagger Tail and constantly loses health, which players need to regain with sand to stay alive. The Two Thrones aims for a middle ground between the Sands of Time and Warrior Within's tones, resulting in a very good experience that is just not quite as unforgettable as either of those two releases. At 4th place, the original Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia was certainly a product of its time. Not only is the gameplay the most platforming-centric of the franchise, but it's also brutally difficult and very deliberate. Although it may not seem like anything special today, the game's graphics, aesthetics, and sound design were incredible for this time. Prince of Persia was not only an innovative and industry-pushing project, but it was also quite influential, sparking a rise in cinematic platformers that lasted for a couple of years. While the game may have been considered a masterpiece on its release, it is definitely not timeless. Prince of Persia very much plays like a 1989 release, and its stiff controls and punishing gameplay might struggle to hit home with players only familiar with the franchise's more modern entries. Taking bronze, Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. It's safe to say the sequel to Sands of Time had some fairly lofty expectations on its shoulders before its 2004 release. Warrior Within may not have reached the height of its predecessor, however, it still provided one of the most memorable action-adventure experiences of the PlayStation 2 generation. Featuring the best combat system in any 3D Prince of Persia game, Warrior Within is a joy to play through, and its action is complemented by fantastic platforming that compares favorably to any other entry in the series. At the time of its release, however, the sequel garnered criticism for dropping the Sands of Time's timelessness in favor of a trend-chasing presentation. However, in the grand scheme of things, the darker tone and rock-themed soundtrack did eventually gain a following after its release. Taking silver, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown's reveal garnered a fairly negative reception, stemming from frustration that the series' next project would be a side-scroller rather than the long-awaited The Sands of Time remake. As launch day approached and previews began to be released, the discourse surrounding the game steadily shifted, culminating in a successful debut that blew away most expectations. The Lost Crown is a fantastic Metroidvania that harbors back to Prince of Persia's roots while still very much doing its own thing. Similar to the Sands of Time, the 2024 release represents the start of a new era, one defined by satisfying combat, solid exploration, and fast-paced movement. And to no one's surprise, number 1 goes to Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. As alluded to before, Ubisoft's first Prince of Persia game, Sands of Time, is a wonderfully balanced title. It combines the platforming gameplay that dominated the industry during the 90s with the action-heavy style that began taking over the gaming industry with the release of the PlayStation 2. The Sands of Time is one of the PS2 generation's most critically acclaimed games, and its core strengths, such as precise platforming, awesome parkour, and gorgeous environments, hold up well even after more than 20 years. While the combat is the game's weak point and worse than any of its console successors, The Sands of Time is otherwise the most complete and ultimately best Prince of Persia game. And those are our rankings of the top 5 Prince of Persia games. We'll see you next time.